It was 11:30 Sunday morning. It had been an unusually quiet day. I was working the day watch out of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. My name is Sergeant Joe Thursday. I carry a badge. The story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. It was 11:35. I got a phone call from Mrs. Emma Jones, an 87-year-old widow. She told me that her neighbors, the McNuttys, were having another one of their wild parties. She asked me if I would go and ask them to quiet it down. I really didn't mind going to the McNuttys' house. She was a prominent young actress, and she was divorced. When I got to her house, I expected to see cars lining the streets. There weren't many in sight. Maybe Mrs. Jones was mistaken. I proceeded to Mrs. McNutty's front door. It was open, and I heard what I thought was yelling coming from inside. I walked to the room where the noise was coming from. The door was closed. I listened. What I heard shocked me. From what I heard, I decided I'd better get the hell out of there. Mrs. Jones was outside when I came out of the house. She asked me what was going on inside. I said I wasn't sure. I asked her if she had seen anything unusual. She said she saw Mrs. McNuttys' daughter, Raven, acting very strange. I decided I had to find out exactly what was going on inside that house. The next day I decided to go to Raven's school and follow her around. Maybe I could get some kind of lead. She left her home at 7:15 and apparently waited for a ride. A brown GTO pulled up and she got in. The license number was ZBE 377. I called headquarters and found out that it was registered to a Dan Walker. He must be Walter Walker's son, the famous psychiatrist. Dan was the captain of the school football team. He was wanted by all the colleges in the nation. At 7:30 they arrived at school. I followed Raven and Dan around school. Nothing unusual happened. I saw them both at lunch. Raven turned around and looked towards me. Could she know that I'd been following her all day? They continued walking. I ran up to catch up to them. All of a sudden, I tripped. I don't know why. As I got up to follow them again, I heard a scream. I ran over and saw Raven standing over Dan. She was in shock. There, at the bottom of the stairs, was Dan. He was dead. I asked Raven what had happened. She told me that he just tripped. This seemed suspicious to me. The next day, I went to the house. I went around to their backyard. I looked in the bedroom window. What I heard was the same as when Mrs. Jones called me. What I saw, I couldn't believe. Mrs. McNutty had been strapped in bed by Raven. Raven was sitting there with an insane look on her face. Mrs. McNeil looked very badly injured, possibly dead. I lost my footing. Raven heard me. I had to get to the car and call for help. I made a mad dash for my car. As I got to the gate, it slammed shut. I turned around, and there she was. She lunged at me. A hard blow in the right place knocked me out cold. I woke to find myself tied up in a chair in the same room with Mrs. McNeil. Raven was sitting on the other side of the room with a devilish look on her face. I tried ever so hard to persuade her to let us go. I explained to her that she was sick. She needed help. She walked over to me. I thought she was going to untie me. She hit me, and then threw up on my face. She then threw up on Mrs. McNeil, too. In the meantime, I worked my hands loose. As I creeped up behind her, she continued to beat Mrs. McNutty. I hit Raven hard. Her strength was overwhelming. When I hit her, she didn't feel much of anything. Luckily, I was an expert in self-defense. We both fought frantically. I knocked her unconscious, and then ran out of the house to my car to radio for help. Then I realized, my God, I forgot Mrs. McNutty. I ran back into the house. They were both gone. I heard a splash from the backyard. I ran to the back door and saw them struggling in the pool. Raven was trying to drown her mother. I jumped into the pool and grabbed her arm. Raven pushed me away. I grabbed for my gun as a last resort. I yelled for her to stop, but she wouldn't. I took the only alternative that was left. I shot her in the head. I helped Mrs. McNutty out of the pool. In the distance, I heard